Jeg kan allerede nå informere om hvem som kommer til å være the big happening. Vi får besøk av Harm og Hegseth. Ja, det. Så i dag skal vi få trent våre lattermuskler. Så det er bare å holde seg klare. De som ikke har meldt seg på, kom bort, så kan vi se om ikke vi finner en løsning likevel. Det er alltid løsninger. Da er vi klare på scenen. Antoine, Tor Olav, Apollo. Oh, could you please join me on the stage? So, of course, I will start with Apollo.
Okay.
You talked about the new role, value stream management.
Right.
How can you see it will be the difference between putting the return on investment for organization level and then also for the project level and the value?
Yeah, I think it is a challenge when we are conducting the value stream management in our project. Because usually the product owners are very concerned that they deliver the functionality, that they get the requirement for. But, for example, security and sustainability, which is today's topic, usually it can slip their mind to be on top of agenda. So it's not necessarily always aligned with the whole organization's prioritized value. This can be a gap. And I think we need to be sensitive about it, be aware of it, and then need to talk to different level management when we address this value stream management. So do not fall into that gap, only focus on the functionality and the usability part.
Can I add to it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course.
I think one of the aspects, obviously, is going to be brand reputations and the overall quality of the system. One of the things that we are struggling when we do testing is that we know what we have in front of our eyes. So if I do test management, I understand what I have in test management in the logic and the intel. But what's missing is that how to prioritize my testing. Where should I focus on my effort? When should I stop automation testing? And I relate it back to the testing side. And by breaking the silos, as we were saying earlier, we could actually get intel that otherwise we would never be able to get. So probably the complexity of implementing value stream management is a little bit bending the frontier that exists between the team for everybody to get it. But ultimately, it's going to be getting intel and getting prescription on where we should spend our time and effort for business outcome, right? And breaking the silos. And I always go again back to what Rick was saying this morning. Quality is a team effort. Everybody's responsible to quality. So when you have a overarching governance platform that sits and everybody has access to it, everybody has the same ultimate goal, whether it's what you were sharing earlier. There must be a measurable metrics in terms of business that in testing we often forget because we don't have access to what's happening in production. But now everybody has the same goal. So this is also the business value and the cultural aspects that it enforces.
Thank you. And then this question will be for Tor Olav. Sorry, just making a joke. Tor Olav, you can choose to how you will reply, but what can I will say it in Norwegian, and then you can reply in English. Hva kan man oppleve som utfordrende med low-code-plattformer?
Yeah. So what's the challenge with low-code, no-code platforms? Exactly, yeah. I just want to address that in English. It's fine, so to keep the discussions going. But the challenge that I see, and I'm kind of trying to be honest about it, the reason I ask the question, how many of you are doing programming, is because I think that to be a successful test automation engineer, you need to understand technology and coding. Because otherwise, it's very nice to use what we call drag and drop, you want to use it, you want to keep it simple, you want to get the end users to be able to do the test automation or the programming for that sake, or not the programming, but the development of application for you. The challenge with that is that from a sustainable perspective, if you start to dig into the details of it, we will see applications that are a bit non-responsive in terms of performance. That's one thing. From a testing perspective, we will see often that the test execution will slow down. It will not be as fast as we want it to be. And to be honest, test automation is also about speed. We need to keep this going really, really fast. So the reason then that I think that the challenge with low-code and no-code platforms are there is exactly this fact that we will not be that efficient that we want to be from an execution point of view. Yes, it's going to be fast to develop a test, but the execution will be slow. And if you go to the development organization, they will say, this is too slow for us, we want to go with something else.
Thank you. And then Antoine? Yes.
Well, we've seen new tools coming up, for low-code, no-code, not development for automation testing. But, it's not because it looks more simple that we should overlook actually the technical requirement. There's always willingness to actually go a bit more in depth because, specific identifiers needs to be worked on or, like a technical change. And sometimes, giving automation testing the tool or the ability to be too easy, done by everybody, is a little bit worrying because, again, there's it's a job to be a tester, right? And there's a logic behind it. Yes, it's interesting to have business analysts, marketers start to do automation testing because, of low-code, no-code. However, does it really bring value overall? I don't think it's settled yet, but it is certainly the automation testing. But let's not forget the end goal, right? And the actual technical complexities behind it.
Okay, and then I will follow up with saying, what can AI bring to testing then?
And that's for
you.
Okay, all right. AI for testing. So I will actually say AI for quality engineering, again, not just to be stuck in software testing. So first, when we talk about AI, I will actually not talk about AI. I'll talk about what is it that we're trying to address? What is our problem? And this actually can vary among companies. Sometimes we have issues on designing the requirements, the user story. Sometimes we have issues with too many assets. I have too many use cases. I have too many defects. Sometimes I'm not sure how to measure quality properly, or I have issues with automation testing efficiency, or I have issues with performance testing. And first, it's actually, while it's a good question, I would go back to where are we struggling first? Where am I limited with the tools I'm using? And then see if AI has been embedded in some tool that can actually help us. And sometimes we are a little bit worried in our job about AI and said, well, I'm not an AI expert. I know testing, but AI, I'm not comfortable with it, which is fine, actually. And it reminds me, 20 years ago when I started in Mercury, I had no clue how the automation test tools I was positioning were coded. I don't care. What matters is the end value. And I think it's the same for AI today. So when I talk about different type of algorithm, in testing, I don't necessarily care. What I care about is, does it solve a problem? Can it help me be more efficient and effective in what I'm doing? So yes, and some of our partners have a lot of different type of algorithm here, but they don't talk about algorithm. They talk about self-healing. So how can it help? Well, you had the likes of digital twin to help test design further, which is an evolution of model-based testing. You have smart quality gates that can tell you prescriptive and predictive KPIs, not the descriptive side of it. You have a smart quality gate that can tell you the duplicate assets, to limit, to right-size the assets that you have. You have tools that can do self-healing automation testing. And there's a variety of different use cases which actually are on our website We spend a year assessing almost all testing activities as part of a huge research. And it's actually on Sogeti.com. You can share the link later. And we ended up with having 55 different chapters on all the different activities. And test data is actually one of them as well that our colleague presented earlier. It's a little bit overwhelming, all these activities. But the point is, forget about the complexity behind it. Really focus on what it is that you're struggling today, and let's take a concrete action path, whether it's I want to measure quality better, I want to be more efficient in automation testing, I want to use synthetic data, right? Just pick up the one, and then, the journey can be set together. But the number of activities and the applications of AI for testing is huge and very concrete. It's not a vision, right? It's very concrete, and we're implementing it in our customers on a daily basis.
Do I understand you correctly? Things will get worse before getting better?
That's the way of putting this together.
But in long term, I do believe in AI testing because it actually ultimately free the human being from repeating redundant work. That's how I see it.
You're right. And I don't know if you remember the last point of this AlphaGo documentation. Let's not be afraid of it, because what AlphaGo did, it expanded the vision that we had about our system. We as human beings can be a little bit limited, but we sometimes do not see other ways of doing things. And I think this is also how AI can actually assist us in automation testing and test design and the rest.
But I like that idea very much in one way. But then if you remember back to what Clemens said earlier this morning about the price and the cost of running the AI show, is it really sustainable to actually embed and utilize so much data power to maybe that we don't gain enough from it? This is a very concrete question. What is your take on that?
I think it's going to be a balance. As also Rick was saying this morning, taking the boat versus going by plane, we need to strike the right balance between getting what we want with a minimum investment, a minimum cost and effort, and the cost, meaning cost, not financial cost, but also the environmental cost. So it's not something that we don't have the response to it today. It's a thing altogether. It's going to be a journey to strike this right balance.
And I also see that AI testing is at an emergent stage. So there is a grassroots approach. There are many different approaches trying to find it. And it will require some initial investment. But then we cannot only look at the initial investment, but the lifetime return in long run for the whole IT society in general and the human society.
That's an interesting point as well. Yeah.
So I think we will stop there with a good wisdom word in the end there from a lady. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you.